From Trump to Xi Jinping, from Erdogan to Macron, let's see how the world's most powerful leaders are protected. Donald Trump, as the current president of the United States, is one of the most heavily protected individuals in the world. His return to the White House has only intensified security efforts, especially after the assassination attempt in July 2024. During a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, a gunman opened fire, injuring Trump before being neutralized by Secret Service agents. The incident exposed the extreme risks he faces and led to a complete overhaul of his security protocols. Since taking office again, the Secret Service has increased its protective measures to an unprecedented level. His rallies, which remain central to his presidency, now require extensive security sweeps, rooftop snipers, K-9 bomb detection units, and heavily armed agents surrounding the stage. Anyone attending these events undergoes multiple security checks, and undercover operatives scan the crowd for suspicious behavior. At the White House, the security perimeter has been tightened significantly. Surveillance drones, infrared motion sensors, and reinforced fencing have been added to prevent any breach. The building itself is heavily fortified, with blast-resistant windows, underground escape routes, and the highly secure Presidential Emergency Operations Center. When traveling, Trump rides in the Beast, the world's most secure car. It is bomb-proof, bulletproof, and sealed against chemical attacks. It even carries a supply of the president's blood type in case of emergency. His motorcade is reinforced with decoy vehicles, counter-assault teams, and electronic warfare systems that can jam communications in the event of an attack. After the 2024 attempt on his life, additional precautions were taken with Air Force One, ensuring it remains an impenetrable flying fortress. The aircraft is equipped with counter-missile technology, encrypted communications, and mid-air refueling capabilities, allowing Trump to remain airborne and operational during a crisis. Security at every airport he lands at is now stricter than ever, with Secret Service agents securing the area hours before his arrival. In a world where most leaders rely on high-tech surveillance and intelligence agencies to protect them, Jong Un takes a different approach. Secrecy, unpredictability, and an army of fiercely loyal bodyguards. Every time he appears in public, he is flanked by a group of hand-picked men, all dressed in identical black suits, moving in perfect synchronization. These are members of the Supreme Guard Command, a highly trained elite force responsible for ensuring his survival at all costs. Unlike most world leaders who prefer armored vehicles, Kim's transportation of choice is a bulletproof train. His custom-built locomotive is reinforced, packed with surveillance technology, and surrounded by security convoys. When he does travel by car, he uses a Mercedes-Benz S600 Pullman Guard, but what truly grabs attention is the team of bodyguards running alongside his moving vehicle. This bizarre but calculated move serves two purposes. It blocks any potential attackers and signals absolute devotion. Kim's security doesn't stop at his personal detail. Anyone allowed near him is carefully vetted, sometimes for years. His food is tested for poison, and even his closest officials don't know his exact whereabouts at any given time. He often uses decoys, sometimes sending a fake convoy in one direction while traveling secretly in another. Every international appearance requires a staggering amount of security planning. When he visited Singapore for the 2018 summit, North Korean security agents swept his hotel, examined the kitchen, and monitored all movement inside. Even local police were told to keep their distance. His paranoia may seem excessive, but in a country where loyalty is everything, staying one step ahead is the only way to stay in power. And in that way, Jong Un is completely different from his European counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, whose security relies on technology rather than fear. In contrast to the rigid, secretive security of Jong Un, Emmanuel Macron's protection is designed for speed, intelligence, and high-tech countermeasures. The Groupe de Sécurité de la Présidence de la République is the elite unit responsible for guarding the French president, and their strategy is built on adaptability. Unlike Kim's hand-picked loyalists, the GSPR operates with the latest surveillance tools, rapid deployment tactics, and deep coordination with intelligence agencies. Macron's daily movements are monitored through AI-driven threat detection systems, allowing the GSPR to assess risks in real time. This is necessary because France has experienced a sharp rise in both political protests and extremist threats, making the president a potential target at any moment. His armored Peugeot 5008 and DS7 Crossback Elysée vehicles are designed for quick escapes, featuring bulletproof windows, reinforced doors, and emergency communication systems. His public appearances come with unique risks. During a visit to the town of Tan-l'Hermitage in 2021, Macron was slapped in the face by a protester who managed to breach security. The incident was minor, but it exposed a vulnerability, one that led to stricter crowd control measures and more aggressive pre-event screenings. But it's not just physical threats the GSPR prepares for. In an age where cyber attacks can be as dangerous as bullets, Macron's security team works closely with France's top intelligence agencies to counter hacking attempts. Every device in his presence is encrypted, and high-level meetings take place in secure rooms designed to block electronic surveillance. Despite the layers of protection, Macron's security remains flexible, allowing him to maintain a strong public presence. Unlike Kim Jong Un, who hides behind secrecy, Macron continues to appear in public, even when risks are high. And just like in France, where intelligence plays a key role in security, Turkey's leader relies on a mix of brute force and highly trained personnel to ensure his own safety. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is one of the most well-protected leaders in the world, and for good reason. Turkey has faced numerous coup attempts, assassination plots, and terror threats, making his security team one of the most battle-tested on the planet. The Presidential Guard, also known as the Presidential Protection Department, is a highly trained force that doesn't just react to threats, it eliminates them before they can materialize. Today, Erdogan's inner circle of bodyguards are handpicked from elite military and intelligence units, trained to detect and neutralize threats instantly. His motorcade is a moving fortress, featuring armored Mercedes-Benz S-600 guard limousines, and a convoy of heavily armed SUVs. Each motorcade includes decoy vehicles, an advanced team that scans the route for potential attacks, and even drone surveillance to monitor rooftops and possible ambush points. Crowd control at Erdogan's public events is brutally efficient. His guards form a human shield scanning every hand in the crowd, while plainclothes security agents blend in to spot potential attackers. Armed counter-sniper teams are always watching from rooftops, prepared to eliminate any threat in seconds. Security inside the presidential palace in Ankara is just as intense. The massive complex is guarded by thousands of soldiers, protected by multiple security checkpoints, and equipped with underground bunkers and emergency escape tunnels. Drones, facial recognition cameras, and AI-driven security systems ensure that every movement is tracked. Erdogan's security isn't just about defense, it's about maintaining control. His Presidential Guard isn't just a security force, it's a symbol of power. And while Turkey's leader relies on elite military units, Saudi Arabia's king has an even more exclusive security force, one that operates like a private army. In Saudi Arabia, security doesn't come in small numbers. King Salman's royal guard is a military-grade security force, trained not just to protect, but to eliminate threats before they even get close. Unlike Erdogan's security, which operates in a high-risk political environment, King Salman's guards are trained to defend against large-scale threats, including assassination attempts, terror attacks, and even coups. The Saudi Royal Guard Regiment is a highly specialized military unit, separate from the regular armed forces. These men are personally sworn to protect the royal family, and their training includes close-quarters combat, counter-terrorism operations, and VIP extraction scenarios. Each guard undergoes intensive firearms training, specializing in both defensive and offensive operations. King Salman's personal motorcade is always surrounded by black SUVs filled with armed guards, all trained to react instantly to any sign of trouble. The convoy is constantly changing its formation to prevent ambushes, and decoy vehicles are used to throw off potential attackers. Surveillance drones fly ahead, scanning roads for any signs of danger. Inside the royal palaces, security is even tighter. Guards are stationed at every entrance, in every corridor, and around every important room. Hidden panic rooms, underground tunnels, and escape routes are part of the palace's defensive design. Even in public, King Salman is never alone. His guards move in tight formation, with at least 2 layers of security always between him and the crowd. Plainclothes security personnel mix into the public, watching for any suspicious movement. Saudi Arabia's wealth allows for unlimited resources when it comes to security, but one leader has something that no amount of money can buy: absolute control over the most heavily surveilled country in the world. In China, security isn't just about guns and armored vehicles, it's about knowing everything before it happens. Xi Jinping's Central Security Bureau is more than just a protection unit. It is a full-scale intelligence operation that monitors every detail of his surroundings at all times. Unlike other leaders who rely on visible bodyguards, Xi's security detail is largely invisible. Undercover agents flood every public event, blending into crowds, waiting for the slightest suspicious movement. His public appearances are extremely rare, and when they do happen, the entire area is locked down hours in advance. When traveling, Xi never follows the same route twice. His motorcade is surrounded by heavily armed SUVs and traffic is completely shut down wherever he moves. His personal vehicle, a Hongqian 701 armored limousine, is heavily fortified against both explosives and bullets. The motorcade is backed by counter-surveillance teams, electronic warfare specialists, and emergency response units. Even within the Chinese Communist Party, very few people know his exact movements. This secrecy is deliberate. It ensures that no one can plan an attack in advance. Dissidents, political threats, and suspected spies are closely monitored, and any potential risk is neutralized before it even becomes a problem. China's technological surveillance also plays a major role. Facial recognition cameras scan every person within range of Xi's location, checking them against massive databases of known threats. AI-driven analytics process thousands of security feeds in real time, looking for any unusual behavior. Unlike leaders who rely on visible displays of security, Xi Jinping's protection is based on absolute control over information, over movement, and over anyone who might pose even the slightest threat. Few leaders live under the constant public eye quite like King Charles III. As the head of the British monarchy, he is always in the spotlight, whether during official ceremonies, public appearances, or private events. Protecting him isn't just about stopping threats. It's about maintaining seamless security without disrupting royal tradition. That job falls to the Royalty and Specialist Protection Unit, a highly trained team within the Metropolitan Police's Protection Command. Unlike world leaders who rely on military-style convoys and armed guards, Charles III moves through crowds with minimal visible security, creating an illusion of accessibility. In reality, dozens of covert security officers are stationed in and around every event he attends. His team includes specialists in counterterrorism, close protection, and surveillance, all of whom are trained to spot a threat before it materializes. One of the biggest challenges for the Royal Protection Squad is crowd control. The king regularly greets well-wishers, shaking hands and engaging in personal conversations, an absolute nightmare for security. To counter potential dangers, officers blend into the crowd, scanning every movement while maintaining constant radio communication with command centers. His motorcade is deceptively simple. Unlike the armored convoys used by political leaders, Charles III rides in a custom-built Bentley State limousine, a gift from Rolls-Royce with bomb-proof armor, bullet-resistant windows, and airtight seals to withstand chemical attacks. It moves with discreet motorcycle escorts and an unmarked convoy, designed to allow for quick, unpredictable route changes. Yet for all its modern protection, the monarchy still holds on to traditions that date back centuries. That's something it shares with another leader who is even more exposed to public crowds, Pope Francis, protected by the oldest military unit in the world. Pope Francis is one of the most approachable world leaders, often seen walking among crowds, shaking hands, and even stopping to talk with strangers. But behind this accessibility is a tightly controlled security system, managed by the Swiss Guard and Vatican Gendarmerie. The Swiss Guard, founded in 1506, is more than just a ceremonial force in their colorful Renaissance-style uniforms. These elite soldiers are trained in hand-to-hand combat, modern weaponry, and high-level protection tactics. Each member undergoes intense physical and psychological screening before taking the oath to defend the Pope with their lives. Pope Francis has challenged security protocols by insisting on staying close to the public, refusing excessive barriers or heavy armored vehicles. This has forced his protection unit to adapt rapidly, blending modern surveillance with traditional bodyguard techniques. His personal vehicle, nicknamed the Pope Mobile, has evolved over time, from bulletproof enclosures to open-top designs depending on security concerns. Crowd control at Vatican events is a major operation. When Pope Francis leads mass gatherings in St. Peter's Square, thousands of undercover officers mingle with the public, while snipers position themselves on rooftops. The Vatican's security cameras are linked to one of the most advanced surveillance networks in Europe, scanning faces and monitoring behavior in real time. Still, Pope Francis insists on breaking protocol, traveling with minimal security and refusing to live in the Vatican's most secure residence. For his guards, the challenge isn't just protection, it's keeping him safe without restricting his mission. Protecting Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu isn't just about keeping one man safe. It's about safeguarding an entire nation's leadership. Threats against Israeli leaders are among the highest in the world, and security measures around Netanyahu are designed for constant vigilance and rapid response. The Shin Bet, Israel's internal security agency, is responsible for protecting the prime minister. Their close protection unit, known as Mishmar HaNegev, is trained in counter-terrorism, intelligence gathering and tactical intervention. These agents are always armed, always on alert, and trained to neutralize threats within seconds. Netanyahu's official residence in Jerusalem is one of the most fortified locations in the country. It's protected by barriers, electronic surveillance, and underground bunkers in case of missile attacks. Whenever he moves, a multi-vehicle convoy surrounds him, with decoy cars making it impossible to predict which one he's in. Public events are the most dangerous moments. Israel's enemies have a long history of targeting government figures, so every gathering is secured by snipers, armored teams, and electronic jamming devices to block drone attacks. Shin Bet also deploys surveillance drones and AI-powered threat detection software, analyzing real-time crowd behavior for suspicious movements. One of the biggest security challenges is traveling abroad. Whenever Netanyahu visits another country, Shin Bet agents coordinate with local intelligence services, inspect venues in advance, and monitor all communications for potential threats. On international trips, he uses Israel's modified Boeing 767, known as Wing of Zion, equipped with missile defense systems, encrypted communications, and emergency escape capabilities. South Africa is a country with one of the highest crime rates in the world, and its president, Cyril Ramaphosa, faces serious security risks. His protection falls under the Presidential Protection Unit, a highly trained force specializing in VIP security, convoy protection, and rapid response operations. Unlike many world leaders who are shielded by layers of military and intelligence agencies, Ramaphosa moves through a country where violent crime, armed robberies, and political unrest are everyday threats. The PPU must always be on high alert, ensuring secure travel routes, rapid evacuation plans, and intense counter-surveillance operations. His motorcade is one of the most unpredictable in Africa, using decoy convoys and last-minute route changes to avoid ambushes. The armored presidential vehicles are equipped with bulletproof glass, emergency communication systems, and defensive countermeasures in case of an attack. Public appearances require extreme crowd control tactics. The PPU deploys undercover agents within the crowds, while snipers position themselves on surrounding buildings. The South African government has invested in AI-driven surveillance systems to detect potential threats in real time. Narendra Modi is one of the most protected leaders in the world, and for good reason. As Prime Minister of India, he faces constant threats from extremists, political opponents, and foreign adversaries. His safety is entrusted to the Special Protection Group, an elite security force trained to operate under extreme pressure and high-risk situations. The SPG's approach is layered. At every public event, snipers take strategic positions, while surveillance drones scan the crowd for unusual movements. His motorcade includes multiple armored vehicles with decoy cars to confuse potential attackers. Modi himself rides in a heavily reinforced Mercedes-Maybach S650 Guard, capable of withstanding explosions and chemical attacks. Even his official residence in New Delhi is a fortress, surrounded by biometric security systems, electronic surveillance, and multiple guard checkpoints. His travel routes are constantly changed, ensuring no pattern that could be exploited. The SPG doesn't just react to threats, it eliminates them before they materialize. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi rules Egypt, where political instability is a constant threat, and his security is designed to reflect that reality. His personal protection falls under the Republican Guard, a force that operates more like a private army than a typical security detail. El-Sisi's motorcade is heavily fortified, with armored SUVs, decoy vehicles, and electronic jamming systems to block remote detonation attempts. Roads are cleared before his arrival, with snipers and security teams monitoring from rooftops. Even in government buildings, access is restricted and his movements are known only to a select few. The biggest danger comes from within. Since taking power in 2013, el-Sisi has survived multiple assassination attempts, leading to a dramatic increase in security measures. His presidential palace is a high-security compound, with underground escape tunnels, reinforced checkpoints, and surveillance technology monitoring every corner. In Egypt, staying in power means staying ahead of the threats. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz is not known for dramatic public appearances, but his security detail is one of the most advanced in Europe. His protection is handled by the Federal Criminal Police Office, a unit specializing in counter-terrorism, cyber threats, and close protection. Scholz travels in an armored Audi A8L Security, designed to withstand gunfire, explosives, and chemical attacks. His motorcade is discreet, blending into normal traffic while being constantly monitored by aerial surveillance. His residence, the Chancellery in Berlin, is guarded by electronic surveillance, biometric checkpoints, and armed officers at all times. Public appearances come with strict security protocols, snipers secure rooftops, crowd behavior is analyzed in real time, and all attendees go through multi-stage security checks. The BKA's approach is subtle but highly effective, ensuring maximum security with minimum disruption. That's about it. Write in the comments which ruler's guards impressed you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.